PlayStation 5 brings a lot of new things to the table, as with any new generation of consoles. But in my first few days of using the PS5, I've managed to make use of certain features that seemed super basic, but actually turned out to be super helpful. In this episode, I'm going to walk you through each of these new functionalities, as well as how you can actually get to them on the PlayStation 5. This one is by far one of my favorite features. The PS5 lets you define game presets that will automatically get applied to any game you'll start playing going forward. In other words, if you usually like playing games on a certain difficulty, you can set that as a baseline here, so the system will keep that in mind with any new game you start going forward. There is also an option here for whether you prefer running games on a performance mode or a resolution mode. This is the first time I've ever seen an effort for a console where you can actually choose between higher frame rates or graphic quality. Furthermore, you can choose camera angles that better fit your style of gameplay for first person and third person view. Last but not least, you get to let the PS5 know whether you'd want subtitles enabled by default and what language you want to hear for the audio. You can access these options by going into Settings, Save Data and Game App Settings, and then Game Presets. The fact that you can now jump to an overlay menu when you hit the PlayStation button is super convenient. But the great thing about this quick menu system is that its navigation actually wraps around. This means that if you're quickly trying to get the PS5 to restart, turn off, or go into rest mode, you can literally just bring up the menu, go left, and then boom, you have access to the power menu in 2 button presses. This feature sounds so simple, yet I have no idea why we never saw this before. If you turn this setting on, the PlayStation 5 can start warning you about game spoilers. Supposedly, for example, when other players in your social network post screenshots about a game you're currently playing, these in-game moments will then be marked with a spoiler warning, so you don't have to worry about getting spoiled without notice. You can access this feature by navigating to Settings, Save Data and Game App Settings, and then clicking Spoiler Warnings. The search functionality is great because it literally searches through your game library as well as the entire PlayStation Store. In this case, I searched for Uncharted and it shows me 2 Uncharted games that I already own, but other titles that are available for me to purchase and download. To access the search feature, you can hit the triangle button on your controller and then click on the magnifying glass. With the PS4, games, applications, and media were all thrown on the same screen, and oftentimes this caused clutter. With PS5, 2 tabs at the very top of your home screen keep these nicely separated. So if you're in the Games tab, you only see options that are relevant with what you can do with games. The Media tab, on the other hand, lets you tap into TV service-based apps that you can install, or you can access your app library in general. The PS5 being backwards compatible with most PS4 games means you literally just have to insert the disc and allow the game data to copy onto its hard drive. And thankfully, each PS4 game shows up being labeled as a PS4 title when you hover over its icon. Speaking of PS4, the PS5 has an entire utility that helps you transfer your PS4 game data over. You don't need to worry about having PS Plus online storage or cloud saves, since this is purely done using your local network or Wi-Fi. To start transferring your PS4 data, just go to Settings, System, System Software, and then Data Transfer. The next screen just gives you an FYI that you can't transfer over data that's tied to other users, and that it's literally a copy and not a move. Finally, there is another feature for being able to move data in external hard drives, and that's another feature we'll go over in this video. Click Continue to move to the next screen. Both devices need to be on the same network, and if you can, definitely use a wired LAN connection for fast transfers. Now you'll be asked to briefly hold down the power button on your PS4 to start the process. The great thing about this tool is that you can either choose to transfer over your entire PS4 game data library or just the game saves you want one at a time. The PS5 will restart once the transfer is done. You may have noticed that the new DualSense controller has an adaptive trigger system where it can now vibrate with super fancy haptic feedback based on what's going on while you're playing a game. You can change the intensity of this at any time by going into Settings, Accessories, Controllers, and Trigger Effect Intensity. If you prefer installing PS4 games on an external hard drive, you can actually use this with your PlayStation 5. You can access this feature through Settings, Storage, and Extended Storage. Next, there are two amazing shortcuts you can access by holding down the controller buttons. For example, you can turn off the controller if you hold down the PlayStation button for 10 seconds. You can also mute all audio by holding down the mic button for just a few seconds. This is certainly not common knowledge, but it can help you save time if it's something you can manage to remember. So I hope this video helps you get familiar with some nifty features that the PlayStation 5 brings with it. And again, seeing many of these features for the first time makes you kind of wonder why the PlayStation 4 didn't have a lot of these. But at this point, we've only scratched the surface. I'm pretty sure that I've missed going over several other features that are just as important. Also, I have no doubt that Sony is probably going to push more functionality to the system via future updates. Thanks for tuning in, and for more on PlayStation 5, please consider subscribing to this channel.